What about Ross, please? Thank you. Have a seat. And who will be your next witness?
Shelby Humphrey, Your Honor.
Okay. Ma'am, if you'll step here next to me, please. All the way up here. If you'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. If you'll have a seat right there. If you'll speak up into that small black microphone there in front of you, that'll help me hear. So if you'll tell me your first name and last name and spell them both.
Kayla Lee, Kayla-Lee.
Yeah, no, we'd call Miss Humphrey, but I can speak. That's not a problem. Okay, Miss Lee, would you tell us where you're from?
Memphis, Tennessee.
And where did you go to high school?
Houston High School.
And did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
And after graduation, did you come to Middle Tennessee State University?
Yes, sir.
And what do you study at MTSU, or are you still there?
I am.
And what do you study there?
Biology.
And what are you studying to be? What's your goals in life?
To become a pharmacist.
And what year are you in?
Sophomore.
Now, when did you meet Miss Reese for the first time, if you remember?
Freshman year, August 2010.
Uh-huh. And where'd you meet her at?
Corlew Hall.
Okay. And how long would you say that y'all have been friends?
About 2 years now.
How would you describe your relationship with her as far as how close of friends you are?
We're close. We tell each other a lot.
Okay. Now, Miss Lee, did you know whether or not, did you know Shanterrica Madden?
I did.
And how well would you know her?
We've had conversations.
Okay. And how was it that you got to know her?
Through Renee and Carlisha Caldwell.
And so you know Carlisha Caldwell as well. Is she a friend of yours too?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been present when Miss Madden has had conversations concerning her roommate, Tina Stewart?
I have.
And can you tell us what those were about and what she said?
That they didn't get along, and she was living with Carlisha because they didn't like living with each other.
Okay. Now, do you know when she moved in to start living with Carlisha?
Around the end of first semester.
Okay, now when you say the end of first semester, is that the fall semester?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that would be if toward the end, I think the semester ends in December.
Right.
Was it in that area?
It was.
Now, in March of 2011, where was she living?
With Carlisha Caldwell.
And how often would she be there, if you know?
Quite often.
And do you know whether or not she kept some clothes there? I'm not saying she kept all, but did she keep any?
She did.
And do you know where she took her showers?
In Corlew Hall.
Now, I want to take you to March 2nd, 2011. You remember that day, I assume? The day that Miss Stewart was killed?
I do.
Did you see Miss Madden that day at all?
No, sir.
Okay. And at some point later in the afternoon or evening, did you receive a call or a telephone call from Miss Reese?
Yes, sir.
And if the phone records show that to be somewhere around 6:30, would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me when Miss Reese called you, what was her mental state?
She was scared. She sounded like she was crying, telling me to come get her.
Okay. And I know she said other things, but I'm not going to ask you about those.
Okay.
Okay. Now, after she asked you to come get her, what did you do?
I called Shelby Humphrey
Why would you call Shelby Humphrey?
because I didn't have a car,
Okay.
and Shelby had a car.
And when you called Shelby Humphrey, did you ask her to do anything for you?
I asked her to come get me and go pick up Renee.
Okay. After that, did you ever get a phone call back from Miss Reese?
I did.
And do you remember anything unusual about that phone call or any sounds that you could hear while you were there?
I could tell she was running because I could hear the wind in the background.
Okay. Also, at any time during that phone call, could you hear Miss Madden's voice?
I could hear Renee talking to Shanterrica.
I'm not going to ask you, did you hear Miss Madden say anything, if you recall?
No, sir.
Now, where did you understand that you were supposed to go and pick up Miss Reese? And
Yes,
was
sir.
there a misunderstanding?
It was.
Okay, where did you think you were supposed to go?
I thought I was supposed to go to another set of apartments, but I ended up going to the wrong ones. So when I called to tell her I was outside, she told me I was at the wrong apartment. So me and Shelby had to drive to the correct apartments to pick her up.
Okay. And were the correct apartments the Raiders Crossings apartments?
It was.
Okay. And as far as your arrival time, do you know approximately when it was?
I can't remember.
Okay. Was it before the time that Renee Reese called the police?
It was.
Okay. And how many minutes before do you think it was?
I can't remember.
Would it be within 5 minutes or less, or more or less?
Of when we went to go pick her up?
From the time you got there until she called the police, how long were you in her presence, do you think? Approximately. I know you're guessing.
I'd say maybe 20, 25.
Okay. Think it was that long?
You talking about from when she called the police?
No, ma'am. From the time that you got there to the right apartment complex.
Oh, it was right then.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Can you describe Miss Reese and how she acted when you picked her up as far as her appearance? And
She was scared,
demeanor?
like she saw a ghost.
Now, did y'all have conversation? I'm not going to ask you to repeat what was said, but did y'all have conversation about the reason that she had called you there?
Yes, sir.
And based on that conversation, did you think it was a good idea for her to call the police?
Yes, sir.
And did you ask her to call the police?
Yes, sir.
Did she call the police?
Yes, sir.
Now, after she called the police, what did she do? Or what did you do?
We went back to Corlew Hall.
And when you say we, who all was in the car that went back to Corlew Hall?
It was me, Shelby, and Renee.
Now, when Renee got there, did she stay there very long?
No, sir.
And do you know how long she stayed approximately?
Maybe 10 minutes.
Did she give you an indication as to where she was going?
She did.
And what was that?
To Ricky's apartment.
Okay. And who is Ricky?
A friend of hers.
I neglected to ask you, but back in March 2nd, 2011, could you tell us what your phone number was?
901.
Now, how did you learn officially that Tina Stewart was dead?
Renee told me that she was upstairs in the apartment dead.
Was that when you came and picked her up?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever hear it on the news or anything like that?
Before or
After?
Yes, sir. The MT alert.
Now, what is an MT alert?
Usually when something occurs on campus, they usually send out a text message letting the students know.
Okay. And once you got the text message, and you receive other information that let you know that it was Tina Stewart and she was dead?
Yes, sir.
Now, as far as Miss Madden, were you around her when she would be around Miss Reese on occasions?
Yes, sir.
And how did she refer to Miss Reese? What
Her-
name did she call her by?
Renee.
Okay. And did she ever call her Nene that you can remember?
No, sir.
And can you tell us about that nickname, Nene, and who knows to call her that? Or,
I call it that.
okay. Now, there were several phone calls that you either participated in or you heard or things of that nature, and you know that you've seen the phone records,
Yes, sir.
and those phone records appear to be accurate.
Yes, sir.
And if I could have Mr. Stein.
Yes, sir.
No more questions, Judge.
Question, Mr. Brown?
Ms. Lee, the district attorney was asking you about talking to Ms. Reese on the telephone, right?
Yes, sir.
and you told the jury that you know she was running because you could hear the wind, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said that at that same time you could hear her talking to Miss Madden. Is
Yes,
that right?
sir. Mm-hmm.
So are you suggesting Miss Madden was running along beside her, and that's when they was having this conversation?
No.
Well, have you ever been outside on a cell phone and just standing still and the wind blows?
Yes, sir.
And would that produce the same sound through a phone that you're describing as her running?
I could tell she was running.
Okay.
By the sound of her, the tone of her voice, the sound of her voice.
Okay, and so you think Miss Madden was running along beside her?
No, I think she was just trying to get away from her because she was afraid.
Okay. And you say Miss Reese, when you got there to pick her up, told you that Miss Stewart was dead?
That she was upstairs.
Dead?
That she was upstairs and that she thought that Shanterrica had stabbed her and that she was laying in the floor.
Well, you told the district attorney a minute ago when he asked you, how did you find out she was dead? You said, from Renee. And you
Right.
said, and he asked you, is that when you got there to pick her up? And you said yes.
We all assumed that she was dead because she said she was laying upstairs on the
Okay.
floor.
And you know Miss Reese by the name of Nene?
Renee. But
I
I
thought
call
you
her
told-
Nene. I call her Nene.
Thank you.
Questions?
As far as hearing the wind or whatever it was, and the conversation that you heard or the words that you heard that you couldn't make out from Miss Madden, were those at exactly the same time or were they at a different time?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. He's asked you about the phone calls and the hearing of the wind.
Right.
And you say that you know that she was running, and I assume that was because of, was it breathing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you talked about that you could hear a conversation between her and Miss Madden.
Correct.
Can you tell us whether or not when they had that conversation she had quit running?
No, she was telling her about some blood on her arm.
And was running?
Right. And
That's
I
all.
was telling her to keep running,
Okay.
to get away from her.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Brand? No, sir. Any question about yours? Not saying anything, ma'am, you can step down. You're free to stay in the corner, free to go.